Hey, what's going on, Ninth Age? This is Obsidian Anubis, and I'm back with another Ninth Age battle report. This is Game 5 of the OFCC. This is the 13th Border Army versus the Dread Elves. So, of note for this particular battle, due to the low attendance at the OFCC this year, unfortunately, this last battle was going to be against my opponent, who I regularly play. So we decided to actually leave the OFCC. Get an extra 2 hours, 3 hours heads up on time, as we were traveling about 5 to 6 hours to get to the OFCC. So we decided to leave after Game 4, headed out, got home, fairly good time. A week went by, and then we decided that the next weekend that we would do the 5th game that we should have done at the OFCC, but because we were just playing each other, we didn't really want to. We wanted to get in, the extra driving time. So we decided to, it's the same exact armies, it's the same exact rules, same exact setup as the 5th game. We just did it in home because it was easier because it gave us a few hours extra drive time. So let's go and look at my opponent's army. So on the far left, they have 5 Dark Raiders, and then a Dread Reaper in the field, a group of 10 auxiliaries, a big block of Dread Legionnaires, and with them is the Altar of Blood and Oracle, who's the BSB. To the right of that is another block of auxiliary, and behind that forest, which is kind of hidden by the trees right now, is my opponent's Manticore General. I believe that's a Dread Princess. And then over here on my opponent's right flank is a second Dread Reaper, a big block of Dancers of Yema, 25 strong, I believe, with a wizard in there. What are they called? Oracles. Level, I think, Oracle Master with, shoot, I don't remember what path my opponent chose. And then to the far right is another block of 10 auxiliary and a Hydra. So up to this point, my opponent had been doing really well, and I had been doing really poorly. My opponent, I think, lost one game, drew one game, and won 2 other games. And all of her games were relatively close in points. I had one minor victory with, I think, a 12-8, and then I had 3 defeats, one being somewhat close, being a 15-5, and the other 2 being pretty majors, a 19-1 and a 18-2, respectively, I believe. So I was not looking too positive. And my opponent had a lot of shooting, which was one of the weaknesses of my particular army, is I had brought a very close combat list, and a lot of my troops don't have a lot of armor. So I was kind of nervous about going up against this list. So on my side, on the far right, I have my block of, let's see, that's the block of 24 flagellants with a champion, and with them is a prelate. I'm sorry, 23 flagellants. Then I have 10 militia with bows. Behind them is a block of 24 flagellants with no upgrades. In the center of my line, I have my Imperial Guard with great weapons, and with them is my General. To the right of them is my light infantry, 15 light infantry with crossbows, battle standard bearer that has the stand and shoot banner. Behind them, hiding behind the hill, is my wizard of divination, hiding on the chariot behind the hill. And then over on my left flank, I have my big block of the 13th, unlucky 13th cohort of halberdiers with my BSB in with them. To the left of them is a block of 20 heavy infantry with just hand weapon and shields, 5 repeater auxiliary, or 5 riders, and then, oops, wrong direction. And on the far left, my 5 knights. So I think my opponent dropped first and wanted me to go first because the crossbow range was 24. So I ended up taking first turn. So I moved up with the 13th Border Army fairly aggressively on both the right side. The left side, I was a little bit more cautious. I didn't move up as near as I could have. But I still moved up fairly aggressively. I needed to get into close combat relatively quickly with all my opponents shooting. You can see between my vanguard and my first turn, my crossbowmen or my readers moved up right in front to start taking shots at the Dread bolt thrower. In Magic Phase, I got card number 6, so I had 6 Magic Dice and 5 Veil tokens. I think I ended up getting 2 more dice, so it was a 8 to 6 dice phase. I managed to get the Stars of Line off on my crossbowmen, and that little small round token is the auxiliary order, or the order that gives them accurate, so they don't have the long range penalty. And so they ended up shooting at the Dread Legionnaires on the far left, Dread Auxiliaries on the far left, and killed 5 of them, but they passed the panic test. You can also see I managed to get, I think, a bubble scrying off from my chariot as well. So both my Imperial Guard, my chariot, and my unlucky 13th cohort have distracting and hard target. Alright, so that brings us to Dread Elves turn 1. So my opponent moved the Dread Riders around to just start shooting at my crossbowmen. And then over here on the right, moved up fairly aggressively. The Hydra came in, Dancers moved up. In shooting phase, my opponent rolled really unlucky, and I rolled pretty good for my armor saves, and I ended up only losing 2 of my readers and passed my panic test. So this is shots from those 5 auxiliary on the top right, plus the 5 riders on to the left of the picture, as well as the bolt thrower. The bolt thrower shot last using the 6 shots, because my opponent wasn't going to use it to kill these guys, but ended up having to use it to try to get rid of them, and even then, still only managed to kill 2 of them. So they are just where I need them. So over here on the right-hand side, this is the 13th Border Army turn 2. I charged 1 unit of Flagellants with the Prelate into the flank of the Hydra. And then other than that, I just kind of shuffled my lines around and did not move too aggressively at this point, as my opponent would be moving up, but I had somewhat diminished some of their shooting. In Magic phase, I managed to get card number 7, so I had 6 magic dice and 7 Dell tokens, which again I think I managed to channel either 2 or 3 extra dice, so it was like a 9 to 6. I don't recall what magic I managed to get off. This picture was actually after combat, so you can see my opponent's Hydra managed to kill, looks about 6 or 5 of my Flagellants. However, I did manage to kill the Hydra outright, and then I overran into the flank of the Dancers of Yema, so that was definitely good for me. Also on the left-hand side, I didn't show you, but my 3 remaining readers charged into the Dread Reaper. So this is my opponent's turn 2. You can see they made a long charge with the Spearmen with the altar into my Halberdiers. My opponent will definitely win that. I'm just hoping I'll be steadfast for a turn so I can get a counter charge with my Imperial Guard. In shooting phase, my opponent picked on my light infantry, well, my heavy infantry detachment, and ended up killing just about half of them, but they managed to pass the panic test due to the general and the BSB being close by. And in close combat over here, yeah, I ended up losing probably about 20 or so Halberdiers, but I managed to do enough wounds that I brought my opponent's ranks down to 1 less than mine, so I was still steadfast and held. Over here, I killed quite a few of my opponent. My opponent had 25, so I think I killed 6 or 7. My opponent only killed a couple in return due to the fact that I was in the flank, and then afterwards reformed so that I was facing them in the front. So this is what it looks like at turn 3. So you can see I countercharged this Spearman with my Imperial Guard. My readers have now taken care of the bolt thrower, and I have now moved behind and are just taking pot shots at my opponent's general on the Mana Core. Yeah, and then I moved up my second group of Flagellants to just start either helping the other unit of Flagellants or to maybe go after my opponent's general. In Magic phase, I got a power card 8, so I managed to get 7 magic dice plus 7 tokens, and I believe again I managed to channel probably 3 additional dice, so it was at 10 to 7. I don't remember what spells I got off. I think I was mainly focusing in this combat. I probably got the Stars of Line off, or perhaps the +2 weapon skill, +2 initiative, +2 defensive skill. So you can see I've done a number of wounds here. My opponent did manage to kill a number, probably about 10 or so Halberdiers. However, I did manage to crush them down to just 3 Spearmen plus the BSB, who fell off, but is still alive. I might have done a few wounds to it, but it's still alive. But either case, my opponent breaks at this point, and I give chase and manage to catch it and destroy it. In close combat over here, yeah, I killed only like 5, and my opponent killed 5 or so more. We're just kind of grinding it out, but I'm willing to sacrifice this unit to grind out those Dancers. Yeah, so this is what the battlefield looks. This is what it looked like after combat. So you can see that my opponent has a big pile of spearmen there, and then that unit on the left with the BSP eventually break, and I give chase and catch it. Um, so at this point, my opponent decided to go ahead and just call it and give me a 20-0. There wasn't much they could do. I mean, they were going to probably charge the general into one of my units to try to get some points. Um, Maybe try to chaff up my second unit of flagellants, but they were going to be charging into the flank of the dancers, so I'd have 2 units of flagellants in on them, and that would probably wipe them out. Um, Plus, most of my other units were still fairly healthy, so surprisingly, I actually managed to pull off a victory on this one, which is again surprising, as my opponent had been doing fairly well throughout the tournament, winning 2 games and drawing 1, while I had been kind of doing the opposite. Well, I had lost 3 games and had a minor victory on the other one. So it was a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if it was because I've played this army or similar versions of this army multiple times, or I've played this opponent multiple times, so I kind of know how they will play and react. Um, but either way, it was a great game and it was a great tournament. I really enjoyed the OFCC this year. And actually, afterwards, I learned that I had won the best painted army um, for my graveyard themed 13th Border Army. So I was thrilled about that. So this is the medal that the head of the tournament organizer for the 9th Age sent me. So I now have that hanging on my wall. So I was really appreciative of that. Um, yeah, I think I'm a fair painter, but I was really happy to have won this. I'm more of a thematic player, so I like having more themed armies. So I'm really cool that managed to get me an award, even though I didn't do so well in the actual gameplay. But yeah, I really enjoyed this game. It was unfortunate again that we had such a low turnout. But hopefully next year it'll be at a different time, and it sounds like it's going to be at a different venue. So maybe we can get more players. It might be cheaper next year, so hopefully we can get more players into the game and bring back others who didn't manage to make it to this tournament. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions or comments, please put those in the comment section below. I will try to get some more games out. I am kind of slow. Work's been ramping up for the past few months, and it's going to stay busy for the next few months, so I probably won't have a whole lot of time to do some games, but I would definitely try to get out at least one video every now and again, every couple of weeks, try to get one video out for you guys. But yeah, that's all I have to say. If you guys want to see anything in particular or have me comment on anything in particular, just put that in the comment section below. But as always, game on.